took my cues from Urahara Kisuke in Bleach, which is to say, I'm never ready, but I'm always prepared.
And that's a great line to open on, I think.
I was gonna say, first thing stream hears, and it is Sin spouting the wisdom.
Actually, I think it was stream hearing you say you hate me. But that said, welcome back, everybody. I know it's been a while. This is episode 12 of Beacons of Kalistrai. We are back, and things are happening. But before we get into that, let's have all of y'all introduce yourselves, going in overlay order yet again. So, Sin, Rainy, Ro, Nins, take it away.
Hello, my name is Sin Ziek, your resident Sunflower Sovereign, a variety streamer here on Twitch, and world builder, because, you know, what else would I do? You can find me floating around here on Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays, talking about and doing various things. You can also find me on Twitter talking about, well, today in particular, your character backgrounds can be as long as is necessary and not longer than that, because it's subjective stuff, and we do not need to make hard and fast rules for subjective things. I'm also in this game, and our pronouns mutually are he and they.
Segueing into that, hi, my name is Rainy. I am the, I guess, general Rain priestess, as it were, of the She-They Empire. I used to do a lot of variety stuff on Twitch. I've taken a hiatus, as it were, because I have 2 jobs that I'm juggling right now, and trying to fit streaming into all that is not, it's not good. So we're taking a break to try and settle things down. But you could used to find me at twitch.tv/Rainy Keys, and you can occasionally still find me screaming into the eternal hellscape void that is Twitter, which is Rained Keys, for those of you wanting to know. I play Alyssa Vespa, and her pronouns are also she, they.
Oh, shoot.
I also play Agnes Wolf.
Thanks for reminding me.
I also play Agnes Wolf, a character on Routes Unknown, who on Routes Unknown. We had our season 2 premiere this past Wednesday. You can come find us on our twitch.tv/RPG Hour. Crow is also a fellow player of that as well.
Yes.
Hi, y'all. I'm Monroe, or Ro, and my pronouns are he, they. I am a TTRPG writer, editor, sensitivity reader, and game designer. And y'all can find me on Twitter at Monroe98. And this Tuesday on TTRPG's Twitch, spelled TEA, TRPG, on our season finale of our Pasión de las Pasiones show, Rosas y Pistolas, where I play a himbo farmhand. And in August, also on TTRPG's Twitch, on Thursdays, playing Monster of the Week.
Hey.
Joaquin! I loved him so.
I'm so glad. He's great.
Hi, it's me, Ninbins. You can find me at Ninbins on Twitter. Or, no, you can find Cozy Bins there, never mind. Any case. I go by he, him pronouns, and I play a nice little sprout by the name of Barry, who goes by they, them pronouns.
Wonderful. And I am Crow, the resident court jester of the Heath Empire, and I will, as always, be the narrator for the day, evening. It's one of those 2 things wherever you are, so it's
for
fine.
the zone.
For the zone.
For
yeah.
the zone.
So yeah, before we get into the recap and the episode for today, I do have a couple announcements. First off, EXO, my Monster Hunting TTRPG, is still in itch funding until the end of July, which means you can use the !EXO command in chat to go get a link to that. We are $20, so 2 copies away from getting new layout for the game as of today. So I'm very excited. It means we're probably getting that new layout to happen. and it's gonna be great. I'm very excited for it. I have a wonderful layout artist who I haven't had the opportunity to work with before, but I wanted the chance to work with them. So we're giving them the shot. And on top of that, Ether, the system we're playing today, is going to be seeing an update at some point, probably within the next 2 weeks, to its 1.5 version. In fact, we'll be testing out one of the new mechanics for that potentially today, whenever the players make skill checks. And so, yeah, we're going to be testing things out, going for it, and you'll see that update soon. So if you want that particular game, you can use the ! TTRPG command and go find that via the links. So with that, I am going to get us into a bit of a recap. So last time we had a bit of an interesting mix of tones in the last episode, because we had a few Fey emissaries arrive at Thornwood Bastion to warn you all that a horde of nightmare beasts had escaped what they called the Carnelian Gate, a massive barrier that seals a pool of energy known as the Noctwell. And that horde of nightmares is 24 hours away from reaching Thornwood Bastion in the town of Maplehaven. On top of that, my music isn't playing for some reason. There we go. On top of that, there was an interesting bit of interaction as Halcyon, Danica's fiance, it's now been revealed, arrived alongside his brother Epoch and an emissary from the Lucidian court of dreamers, known as Adira, whom Alyssa recognized as the odd figure they met on the road to Crestfall. Something like 10 episodes ago now. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm. It's been a while. But she remembers.
Alyssa,
she remembers all.
Alyssa indeed remembers. And that said, there's a bit of a funny back and forth as Epoch politely ribbed his brother for not informing the family that his brother decided to get engaged without any of them knowing. And then on top of that, well, you all decided to go. I know Barry and Rue went about sealing some of the information in the original copies that you found from the Vigil's cache down in Thornwood Bastion's library. And Danica also went to go see her family at one point, and you all stopped at the hospital to discover that people have been falling into a nearly comatose sleep state unexpectedly. And that's roughly where we ended the episode. We'll pick up just outside the hospital, as you've all been ushered out by Danica's mother and Vinat, who are very rapidly going to work on the dozen or so individuals now who are asleep without explanation. And they are sort of doing a frantic pace to try and make sure, you know, all their vitals are okay. And for the most part, everyone seems fine, except that they simply just can't wake up. Now, before I get into things, is there anything you all would like to do?
While you have my DMs.
Indeed. And so, Barry, let's talk about that for a moment. So this also segues into what I want to bring up for this episode. I apologize in advance, viewers. This episode may seem a little slow-paced because this is going to be a defenses planning episode in terms of almost turning this into a tower defense game. But you all have a number of problems you're going to have to solve or address in some various ways. And the more of these that you manage to solve in those 24 hours, the less difficult that inevitable fight will be. So depending on how you set things up, I'll adjust the fight to be easier on you. It'll go from impossible to manageable, basically. Because I couldn't make it easy. But that said, Barry, You know the area very well.
Yeah, yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to use you as our perspective character to basically tell the rest of the group and the audience what you're dealing with in terms of a setup here. So you have Thornwood Bastion, we'll say just off to the left, and then spread out beside it, almost on the edge of this hillscape, leading into the woods, you have Maple Haven. Maple Haven is a very spread out town. It's a lumber-based town. They do have some very basic palisades facing the woods just to deal with anything that kind of comes rushing out of it, but they aren't really built to withstand an attack. They're more just built to delay a creature until it can be scared off in the instance of, say, a wild bear or whatnot.
And these nightmare creatures are supposed to come from the forest, correct?
It is assumed they will come from the forest, because the way these nightmare beasts work is you all kind of have two different positions to defend here. You have Thornwood Bastion, because Thornwood is going to be facing nightmares in the dream realm since they have a portal. However, it is assumed that these nightmares are also going to do their best to latch on to any sleeping animals they can find, and will most likely use them in the physical realm as their means of attack. It'll be sporadic. It'll be somewhat confusing and dangerous as well, but ultimately these nightmares are doing their best to find a way to anchor themselves in the physical realm. That's what they want. They want to be made physical. They will also attempt to possess and take over any people that are sleeping nearby. So depending on how you deal with these problems, people of the town might be at risk here. Beyond just the attacks themselves.
Topography-wise, right, we have Bastion to one side and then the town to the other side. Where is the forest in relation?
The forest, if this is the Bastion, I wish I had a map for this, but I unfortunately don't. If this is the Bastion and this is the town spread out, the woods are here.
Okay, well, in that case, I'm probably going to focus most of my attention on preventative measures to keep the town safe, since the Bastion itself is designed for this sort of event.
Indeed. And that is one of the things that will make your job a little bit easier. So you sort of have two fronts to defend on. You have the physical realm and the dream realm. In the physical realm, it's defending the town. In the dream realm, the Bastion will more than likely be able to handle itself because they have defenses around their portal as well.
Mm-hmm.
Your problem is going to be finding and defending the people that are asleep. Because people being asleep here causes one of two things. Either they can wind up possessed by a nightmare if it's powerful enough, and therefore you wind up having to deal with them as an enemy within the town itself. Or they become a way for nightmares to spawn more of themselves by creating and generating more fear within their dreams. So you have sort of this scattered collection of people who will be dreaming that you'll have to find some way to defend or teach them to defend themselves in their dreams. Or... yes.
From what I know of the Slumberjack, what sort of unconscious state does it put people in?
I would say it would basically drop them into a REM style sleep. It's not impossible to wake someone up, but it is a deep and heavy sleep, as though, you know, a deep anesthetic or whatnot. It usually doesn't last very long, though. You haven't really... How much would you have experimented with the Slumberjack? Do you think? Because we did have a week or so of downtime before all this arc.
I think at this point, Barry would have done like his due diligence in, you know, researching perhaps a counter agent to this lumberjack pollen, so that if anyone does happen to need to harvest from the actual plants, they might have a way to either keep themselves awake or wake themselves up.
Okay. So, you tell me, what would you like to attempt with that knowledge? What are you aiming for here?
Well, it was just a consideration, but I was thinking about putting them deeper into sleep.
Interesting.
Sort of into what's the word? To the point where they're not dreaming.
Oh. That would be possible. I can't see why not.
And so maybe some combination of whatever effect they're under right now, and perhaps some concoction with this lumberjack plants might put them deep enough into unconsciousness that they might not dream for however long the siege is.
Interesting. Okay. I'm gonna have you make an alchemy check for me.
Great, love it.
Mostly to see if you can really fine tune and dial in this effect to the point where you'd be able to make sure they're sleeping without dreaming. So, play out your skill check. This is going to be the new mechanic I was talking about, the update. So now, instead of having to do a bunch of math, it's play your skill check, take the highest card.
9.
A 9. So on a 5 to 9, you get a success with a complication. So I'll give you a couple options here. You can make the dreamless state shorter, but have enough dosages for everyone, as well as a few extras who may come into the hospital over the next 24 hours. Or you can make it last definitely through the entire, we'll call it a siege, for lack of a better term, but you'll maybe only get about 2/3 of the people if more start rolling in. It'll take you some time to sort of process the lumberjack plants you can grow and make them potent enough to cause this effect. It's probably going to take you about half your time as Barry.
Yeah, I'm willing to donate half of my time to keeping people safe. And I think we'll take the limited option, the one with a shorter duration, because at least then we can, do planning.
Okay. So I'm taking notes here so that I can apply these things later. So we'll say, Barry spends 12 hours making a solution that'll cover all of the sleeping people in a hospital over the next day for a short duration during the siege. So I'll figure out a way to make that adjust. It will most likely adjust the number of creatures you're facing next episode.
Great.
And then you also had in DMs a plan for creating effectively magical landmines.
Yes,
of a
because
sort.
we love those.
I have a query.
Yes.
Is at any point our favorite pollinated friend going to talk to Rue about any of this?
I'm going to assume any plans you all come up with are discussed amongst you as a group, as well as discussed with folks at Thornwood Bastion and the likes of Epoch, Halcyon, and Adira to sort of coordinate all of this. So assume any information here is shared. Yeah.
Well, I mean, sure, but I mean, you know, this might be one of these things that I try to always ask these things, because you never know if Barry's just kind of like, listen, I'm just out here doing my inventor things and like laying out surprises and stuff. If Barry does mention this to me, I'm going to take the time to point out that we did just also learn about like domains, so that ability to create zones that we can open and close might be useful here.
Indeed.
I think Barry would reply saying, I can only use my skills. I think, well, actually, this might give us a margin of error. If the concoction I've made won't last forever, and we could use your ability in several ways. You could use it possibly to save these people if the concoction does not last long enough, or you could use it to sequester some of the enemy. Those are just the options that appear at the top of my mind.
Well, considering the amount of the enemy that may be here, what do you feel would be more prudent? To work on trying to like lock down a few of the enemy, or try to lock down all of the town?
Can you do that?
I'm looking at you.
So when you say lock down all of the town, there are two potential branches I see for this going. Particularly with your skills, Rue. Do you mean making sure that the townsfolk are asleep and therefore protecting their dreaming selves? Or do you mean pulling the town physically into the dream realm and locking people down?
One of these things is more epic than the other.
Well,
you're not wrong.
That's true. I have to ask. I have a couple of questions about that, depending on which way you decide to go, because I don't know, like, you've just given me two options, so I'm assuming that means those are two options that would be possible to do with some level of difficulty.
Yes, the more epic version of this is exceedingly more difficult. But I will also say you have a powerful Lucidian court dreamer with you in the form of Adira. So it is entirely possible. Your downside will be, I'll say, if you choose to bring the entirety of the town, like physical bodies, into the dream realm and protect them that way, I'll say Rue probably won't be able to participate in any other preparations. It will be this kind of thing where, like, for the 24 hours leading up to this fight, Rue is off the board doing this big defensive technique.
Okay. I don't know if this is necessarily a thing, but I would also like to consider, can I, like, to, like, kind of help with the whole thing of transporting, like, people and stuff into the, like, the dream realm, can I ask the people of the town to kind of, like, spirit bomb the whole thing?
You don't even need to. You can have them physically walk through the portal. The concept here is what takes your time is building and constructing the eminent domain and locking it down. The more people you're trying to hide within that eminent domain, the longer it takes and the more difficult it is. Getting them into the Dream Realm is kind of the easy part for you because you have Thornwood Bastion. You would just have to evacuate the town to the Bastion to get them to do it.
Like, how many people are we talking about?
Ro, I believe you told me it was a town of like 200 people or something like that, or a couple hundred?
Couple hundred, yeah.
Yeah, it's fairly spread out, so it would not be impossible to do this. You know, once you get the word out and like, Danica, if this is something you would want to help with, you have pull within the town. You know, you're not just a Gleam Warden, your dad and your mom are both very well-known figures, so if Danica starts spreading this around...
I mean, I could literally wait until like we're asleep, like depending on how long we have until we have to do this, and just kind of appear in people's dreams as a form of propaganda and just be like, hey, you're gonna see me in real life like in like 24 hours from now. And when you do, I want you to know that that's a good thing and I'm here to help you.
You absolutely could do this, yes. And I'm assuming within this 24 hours there will be a sleep period. So yes, this could absolutely be a thing you as Rue do, because it's also super in character for you.
And just kind of explain to people like, hey, so here's the thing. I may or may not have, you don't know me and that's fine. I have a limited amount of ability to see into the future, and you in danger, girl. That's what's happening. So I'm here to help you. And the way that I'm going to help you is basically we're just going to have you go on a little vacation provided by me and my... Can I call you friend? Can I say that? Or like, do you have like a formal title that you like to use?
No, you can call me a friend. We're going to get much closer after all this is said and done.
Okay. So me and my friend Adira here are going to send all of you on a vacation to keep you away from the bad things while we do what we do to protect the town.
Rue framing this as sending other people on a vacation is sending me right now.
And
I love it.
And that's what I do for like 24 hours.
Everybody's on vacation. Everybody's on vacation but Rue.
Rue and Adira will be your dream travel agents. So Rue, you and Adira, you'll be able to talk and move around. It's not like you're going to be in a complete trance state for this. It is a very participatory ritual to construct a domain. And it's also very personal to you, these domains as well. They're sort of born of your dreams. So this will have aspects of both you and Adira woven into it. I'm also going to say that this takes Adira off the board for any other preparations as well, in case any of you had plans. So, Rue,
may I make an edit to my earlier plan?
I would also like to ask a question. How does how, if possible, would my connection to Aurora factor into this?
That is
the way that you just looked.
That is a very interesting
the way
question.
he looks is because he forgot to add. I think he forgets about your connection to Aurora being as big as it has been.
No, I don't forget about it. It's more of a thing of I don't think of it being a factor until you ask. But now that you've asked, I feel like it would have an effect. But what I'm going to say is I'm going to turn this back around on you and say, because this is spawned from Rue's dreamscape and also from Rue's connections to Aurora and potentially from Rue's connection to Nataris, the Shadow, what do you think their impacts would be on this eminent domain?
For Nataris in particular, I think his effect would be, at the most, knowing how random it is, that people in that domain don't remember it when they leave it.
Intriguing. Okay. And Aurora's impact. Now, Aurora is the entity tied to the crystal in Crestfall, for the audience's sake. And this crystal produces a borealis colored light that protects the town from various attacks by the Bane Horde, these kind of black crystalline creatures.
So does her influence here add any kind of increased, like, either protection, or does it actively repel these creatures?
I'm going to say it would actively repel them. Normally the crystal would not have an effect on dream-based creatures, but because this connection is sort of being filtered through you as a lens, so to speak, I would say you're altering the quality of this enough that it will repel this effect. Or repel these creatures, I should say. So...
Oh, that's going to be neat. I'm pretty sure now our friendly Barry here is going to have something to do with that.
Yes. Now, an eminent domain is something that can be locked and unlocked. It's something that can be anchored to a space. Rue, how would you like to anchor this? You know, what is your method of finding it, and what is your method of getting into and out of it? How anime do you want to make this?
Huh?
How anime do you want to make this? I can see the wheels turning.
I mean, you can. It's one of those, do we make this a thing where, you know, I decide to, like, straight up Kingdom Hearts this whole thing, and like a whole beam goes up into the sky, and like you see, like, hey, there's a you know, like, there's a giant door here that we didn't know was here, but now we have this whole Kingdom Hearts thing happening. Now there's this keyhole. Where does the door go? Who even knows?
Where do the keyholes ever go? We've never known.
I'll lay out some landmarks for you. You have Thornwood Bastion with its portal-esque lake in the middle of it. I call it a lake. It's more of a pond.
Lake-esque portal.
Yeah. You also have the town of Maplehaven with a few landmarks such as the forages. You have the woods. There's another question here too of, do you want the anchor to be in the dream realm or the physical realm? Because both of those are options.
Well, I don't know. Tactically speaking, what are the differences?
Tactically speaking, the anchor would be more likely to be attacked by nightmares in the dream realm. However, it would be more powerful in terms of defense in the dream realm. It would be more easily hidden in the mortal realm and undetectable, but it might be a bit weaker because, you know, it's anchored outside of the dream plane. So you have a bit weaker but harder to find, or much stronger but more likely to be hit.
Okay, so I guess the other thing is, if I'm not able to engage in preparations, am I able to engage in defending this door?
Yes, I will say, if you decided, like, the preparation phase and the actual battle phase are going to be two different things. So you're just, you know, it's going to use up your time during the preparation phase, but during the battle phase, you'll be more than welcome to defend as you see fit. And that's something we'll talk about sort of in the lead up to the next episode too, in terms of where you all want to be and what you want to be focused on.
I guess my question would be, how severe are the consequences if they find this door?
With what you're planning and people being physically in this space, It would be like any other battle. People will have an opportunity to lose their lives. However, the benefits to moving the people physically into the dream realm is that the nightmares won't have the power over the people that they normally would. Because people are physically there, they're tied to their bodies instead of the dream.
So like what happens for this door, right? If I put it here, it's harder to find for the nightmares, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Right. But you said the defense is weaker. So what happens, like what are the consequences if the nightmares, I guess, what happens if the nightmares find this door? What are the consequences? Because it's a way in between. Do I want to defend this town, or in the event, however likely, that our defense fails for some reason, the nightmares need to not get to this door? How severe are the consequences if they find it?
More than likely, heavy loss of life on the town's part. That's what will happen here. If you were to just be protecting like the dream portion of these people, they would likely just never wake up. That's kind of the difference we're looking at here. It's either a permanent coma or physical injury and potentially death. On the other side of things, I will say, do you want a thought that came to my head, or would you like to keep, figuring this out yourself?
Well, here, why don't we have a conversation with Adira, who is obviously well versed in like war tactics and Lucidian court things.
That is very fair. Adira is going to... I'm not going to go into the voice for this because it would be a long conversation about how these things work while you two are working these magics. Adira is going to start instructing you more officially in terms of your lucid dreaming. Because to Adira and other lucid dreamers, the dream realm is something they sculpt. It is not something they walk through. That would be the terminology Adira uses. So for you in particular, when it comes to defending this space, you're going to have a bit more power here than pretty much anyone else in the party if you are in the dream realm on the defense side. Adira would also say, if you want to anchor this domain in the physical realm, more than likely the best place for it is somewhere in the Bastion. Just because it's already defensible and there's a lot of small nooks and crannies where you could put this thing, because when you anchor it in the dream realm, you can anchor it when you anchor it in the physical realm, the anchor can be anything. You are basically just assigning this thing a magical signature. You could anchor this thing to a penny if you wanted to and drop it on the side of the road and that sort of thing. So that is up to you.
Well, here's the concern, Adira. I have options, and from what I understand about all of this, doing this dream thing and us being lucid dreamers, it would be we could possibly anchor the door here. There would be possibly more power that we would have as far as defending things goes, but goodness knows it would be nothing but cataclysm if the nightmares were to find this door.
I think Adira would nod and just say, I think it would be best if we anchored it in the real realm but positioned ourselves in the dream for the defense. We would have our greatest power there, and it would be more well defended through layers.
Has someone ever eaten an anchor before?
You hear Barry on the thing go, I did once, wasn't good.
You watch Adira have like this very odd head tilt and kind of this grin of like, I see you're going to be a very unconventional individual.
Well, the idea of the anchor for this being somewhat unconventional, most people would be looking for a relatively small or either hard to destroy physical object. No one would suspect a sandwich.
Yes, however, if the anchor is destroyed, the domain unravels and would spit people out into the dream realm. So perhaps something indigestible? The other side problem here is you would be forced to wait until you passed the object to retrieve the people of Maplehaven.
That was a very political way for her to say poop.
You know something?
You're not wrong.
Fascinating on multiple levels. So then we will anchor this in the physical realm in the Bastion, for one. And for two, I will find it endlessly remarkable that someone did take the time to do the science on this, and someone actually has eaten an anchor and waited for it to pass before being able to retrieve whatever they use that imminent domain for. I would like to read the book on this personally, but that is a discussion for a different day.
I think Adira would just laugh and say, "You underestimate the abilities of young children with lucid dreaming."
I am the last one who should.
In that regard, I'll ask you two questions. What object would you like to tie your domain to? And where within the Bastion would you like to hide it?
I don't know where I can hide things in the Bastion, honestly, so that's a thing.
The Bastion's a giant grown wooden castle. So anywhere you can imagine that would be within said castle. It does have its own dungeon.
Sorry to interrupt, but here's an example. Say it's a book in a very special book vault. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
You mean, okay. So
Barry's book vault.
Since the vaults are pretty well defended anyway, I guess that is a good place to put them.
Not only are they well defended, they're also snarky.
Okay. In that case, I will hide it in the well-defended, snarky book vault.
Okay.
Wait, Barry's area of the vault has what things for plants and for cooking?
I would assume. I don't know, Barry. What's in your particular small storage segment of these vaults in this library?
Barry's vault has the most eclectic collection of things from cooking and plants, but also to taxidermy and what's the word? Astrology.
In that case, I am going to hide it in Barry's section of the vault, and very specifically on books about being a shipwright.
Yeah, because he would have
Clever.
One day he would have been like, I wonder if I can grow a boat.
That is very much a thing Barry would be curious about.
That is a very Barry.
Anchors it to a book on a shipwright and stores it in Barry's segment of the living vaults in Thornwood. Okay. I also need to note down how much time that takes you. All right. So I also need to write down dang, okay. I love this. So you have this eminent domain, and it takes you some time to put together. I'm going to bring... This is where I'll bring Danica and Alyssa into the fold. So, the town itself, with this plan, is going to be empty. It is going to be a ghost town. So that means that you can just up and choose not to defend the physical Maple Haven at this point. However,
I mean, sorry, continue on.
I was just going to say, however, evacuating the people would take some time.
Mhm.
So whether both of you want to help with that, or if one of you does, will change how much time that takes. And if you pull anyone else in to help you with that as well, because I know Rue is going around to people's dreams saying, hey, hi, we're going to be helping you.
Alyssa will let Danica take over because this is Danica's hometown, and she knows very well that the full get up is going to be scary, especially for kids. So
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, well, one, I'm gonna be upfront. Danica probably had like a panic attack for like 10 minutes after leaving the hospital. But
No, that's fair.
no, that's fair. But
Yeah.
no, but the people know Danica. This is Danica's home, and especially
And I was
since going back on her own experiences with evacuating a hometown, it is better to let the people that are more well liked and well known lead the charge, because the people, it's just that panic response. It's just that instant. It's just that instant trust right there, already pre-built. It's hard to get another's trust.
And I was gonna say, I was gonna go like as soon as Danica was like, of sound mind and body, go find Marcel and Dahlia and Nala and anyone else she can find.
Okay, so you basically recruit the family and start having
What
everybody
family's
go.
left? Yeah.
Yeah, because
Alyssa is going to look at. I'm sorry. Sorry.
No, I was just going to
Continue
say, I do believe Danica's father is one of the people who's asleep right now as well.
He is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which I'll get to after. I was gonna tell Barry that since Danny's father is out of commission temporarily, the Forge's supplies are fully available.
I will
Yeah, whatever
also
traps you need.
I will also say Maple Haven does have a lumber yard. That is another bit of information that might be pertinent here.
If it just look at Barry, and if anyone asks, I say it's okay. Do whatever you want.
I'm watching Nin's grin right now, and I'm getting scared as a DM. I don't think
Bro, this is what happens when you put all this implicit trust in them. In anybody, in any of us.
Yeah.
Like, Alyssa's gonna actually, make a small bit of a smidge of a caveat. Not to really be a bit of a downer on this, but the people that are already sleeping, we can't wake up. I don't think we should take them into the Dream Realm Eminent Domain with us. Somebody's got to be here to protect their bodies in case of possession by nightmares.
No, but taking the bodies in.
But they're still dreaming. And that is a layer upon a layer that I would rather not have.
Well, we have the expert right here.
I will say, none of y'all know if any of them could be possessed while physically in an eminent domain. That would be a risk.
Alyssa just sits here and goes, listen, I know spiritual possession. Nightmare possession is roughly the same kind of shit. I don't want that risk. Because not only are we technically splitting up our teams in a sense of Adira and Rumine are going to be on the dream side protecting it. Sure, they're both more powerful there, but that is still posing a risk to the rest of the populace. I say we leave the sleepers here on the physical side. So in case a nightmare possession does happen, we can handle it more safely here.
But I'm just going to say, Adira, do you know if that will be a problem?
idea. Using an eminent domain in part of a siege defense tactic has never quite been attempted before, and moving people who are already asleep and dreaming into an eminent domain has also never quite been attempted before. We're breaking new ground.
Good. So I should not stop developing what I'm developing. Good.
We're breaking new ground.
Wait, if they don't dream...
They're probably dreaming already. We can't wake them up.
I'm not trying to. I'm going to put them deeper into sleep so that they are not dreaming anymore.
But didn't you say your solution only lasted a short while?
Well, yes. But if we save those people for last...
And what I'm saying is, leave the physical body...
Because but if they're not dreaming, they're not in the dream world.
You clever branch. Okay, I'm going to put some meta explanation on this. What Nins is recommending is throwing them deeper into sleep, and then while they are in that period where their spirit is not in the dream realm, moving them into the eminent domain.
And that way, even if they wake up, or when the thing stops working, they start to dream, they will already physically be there.
Yeah, because if they start dreaming in an eminent domain, their spiritual form is just going to be in the eminent domain. It's a closed bubble.
I mean, all's fair and good. And that sounds
how clever
a good...
you are.
It's a very clever trick, I must say, Barry. It's a very clever trick, I must say, Barry, but I'm just...
It's not a trick, it's a solution.
It is a solution. Trick, what have you, but there's...
Because then we can ask them if anything happened before they went to sleep. We can find out the cause for this problem.
I know the cause of this problem, potentially, and this is something that has happened before. Way back yon. Far before my time. But the spirits back home often tell of this tale. And it's not good. People fell asleep well before in droves. And then the Nightmare King happened. What I'm trying to say is, I would like to at least give a bit of a leeway, a chance to look into these sleepers, these dreamers, to make sure that there is not already a possession case happening if we do this.
Then you should do that now.
Yeah. I mean, Alyssa, you're the preeminent tracker of the group. With a little bit of nudging and potential help, you could just go trawling through the dream realm to try and find these people and see if they're okay.
Danica would be like help immediately.
You have 24 hours to do it in, which does put a damper on things. But if you can do it in that time, we could possibly save these people and save ourselves some extra trouble.
And I will say too, the evacuation, like, Danica, you don't have to be present for all of it. So if you want to accompany Alyssa on that, you absolutely could.
Danica, and Alyssa's just going to turn to Danica. Danica, I appreciate your help and the want that you need to do this, but you need to be here in the physical realm, escorting those that are still awake. You need to be helping your mother escort our sleepers once we get this all well said and done. I'm a big girl, and I'm a big necromancer. I can handle this myself. I appreciate it, but you're needed here, with your people.
These aren't just my people, you know. My mother and my brother are also here. They can handle it.
Fine. Danica, be with your family.
My family is also in the dream world.
I will do my best to take care of your family that is in there, but you need to be here physically. Just trust me on this.
Where's Halcyon?
Halcyon's been doing a couple of different things. So Halcyon's been shoring up defenses at Thornwood and seeing what things are available to him because, funny enough, he works at a fortress for a living. He kind of knows what he's doing. So he's been going through and shoring up that. He has checked in with you a few times to see if you're doing okay. And other than that, I will say Epoch has been away for the most part, checking on the anchor for the dream giant that's nearby.
Because that's also another concern too, on top of that.
Now, Epoch will, inform you all that, like, the anchor is stable. There doesn't appear to be any, fluctuations with it or any problems with it, despite the nightmares coming our way. He's just, according to him, one, keeping the location a secret for very obvious reasons, and two, trying to set up extra defenses there, because he's not a fighter. He is, for the most part, a scholar, but he still knows kind of what he's doing in terms of magic, so... if you need Halcyon, you can call on him as you see fit. He's around.
And I will do that.
Right. Danica, what do you need? Sorry. I've been a little busy here trying to set things up. Never seen a fortress with that ballista before.
When you're prepped and finished doing whatever you're doing, would you be able to help evacuate the town? I'm going to be going on an errand with Alyssa, whether she likes it or not, and my mother will need help.
He just looks at you and grins and just says, yes, I can do that. How forceful am I to be in terms of the evacuation?
Considering Rue and Adira are going to be giving a heads up, I don't think you'll need to be that forceful, hopefully.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Good.
If I may suggest a query, perhaps follow Danica's mother's lead on this, Halcyon.
Right. That's a good plan.
Did you say you needed a crossbow? Sorry, a ballista?
You can never go wrong with artillery.
Great. Working on it.
I assume Barry, just trots off towards the lumberyard and the steelworks. And I assume Barry is, recruiting some of the workers as well. So that basically, the workers will be some of the last people to go through in terms of building these defenses. Again,
Barry just has a card that just says, Danica says I can.
Danica says I can.
Yeah, basically. So, Barry.
Whenever anyone's like, hey, what are you doing? Danica said I could.
I'm kind of curious, does I don't know how to ask this question. How Doc Brown weird science are we getting here in terms of Barry's personality? How wild and out there are you going to become?
We're creating Lisa LeBrock out here.
We're heading towards Hover Train territory.
Hover Train.
Okay. So Barry, once Danica gives you the go ahead, Danica, you're kind of running the evacuation for a bit. I'll get back to Alyssa and yours escapade through the dream realm in a moment. we'll say that like that escapade is going to take place kind of in the latter half of the preparation period, because the evacuation of everyone who's still awake would happen first.
Mm-hmm.
Barry, what kind of defenses are you building with this carte blanche?
So I'm going to make living ballistae. Now, they're not sentient. They're not, what do you call it? They're not like animals. I will just be sort of bringing the lumber after some melting and some work
growing
back
plants
into a sort of living state. Then what will happen is, instead of firing like physical, what do you call them, projectiles, they will fire amber, or rather sap that will harden into amber.
I know what you're going for. I know what you're going for. It's the seed turrets from Guild Wars 2. Kind of deal.
Those fire seed bombs.
Same principle.
You're making tar slingers.
Yeah, I'm making tar slingers. Yep. Except it's tree sap.
Okay. I'm going to ask a question. Alyssa.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do any spiritual shenanigans bullshit in this time period?
Considering that the general thread that I got prior to all of this was pretty abysmal, no. Just because I don't think anything's going to really change in between now and the escapades.
Okay, so you're not calling on any nearby spirits or anything like that?
You only said there was like one.
Okay.
I mean, I'd ask them.
Yes, she's gonna try again for a different thread, if that's possible.
You certainly can. Go ahead and make a spiritualism skill check for me. Remember, just tell me your highest card.
Mm-hmm.
So much easier. I don't have to do any difficulty setting. I love it.
I got a King of Spades.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, standard crit rules apply. Now, since you're not doing damage, a cascade doesn't matter here. So, perk-wise, I'll say this time around, you reach out with your spiritual senses, and since coming back from the Vigil's cache, you haven't really used this ability. And it's like you've been supercharged since sitting in that well of death magic. To a point where you don't... normally your radius would be like a couple blocks in terms of senses. You reach out across the countryside. You cover probably the width of the entire span of the inverted forest. You don't go too deep into the forest with this sense, but it's broad from where you are. You get the original sense of the few spirits that were in town.
Mm-hmm.
And then farther out into the woods, there's just this, almost in your vision, it would be this bloom of light. And it takes them some time, but the spirits that you sense there sense you back and start making their way. And you realize that however long they've been there, it may have been decades, maybe centuries, you don't know, but there was the remains of a village out there. And so you have a number of spirits show up of varying ages. You can tell quite a few of them stuck around just to be helpful to their descendants. But I'd say you get anywhere between 30 and 40 spirits that show up and ask you why they were conjured.
Oh boy, this is back home bullshit again.
A little bit, yeah.
Alyssa's just going to very, very succinctly. During this time, she's actually done the full kit, and by full kit, I mean she's sort of changed into her more priest garb, as it were, the garb that she usually reserves for when she gives last rites.
Mhm.
And the bottom half of the mask is back.
Okay.
So she's full decked out, not a lick of skin showing. It's pretty darn creepy, honestly, in every term of the sense. But she just turns to 30 or 40 so spirits and just simply tilts her head. I require your assistance. We are defending this town from nightmares ripping through, and I know this may not be your village, as she turns to the remnants of the one village deeper in the woods. But to protect a legacy here would be better than nothing.
As a group, I'm going to say with that king, yeah, they're going to agree to this. No questions asked. Nids, how do you feel about a bunch of ghosts arming your living ballista?
Also, like, Alyssa will eventually just, if there's the old village leader stuck around too, she'll eventually seek out that particular spirit and just ask potentially if she could contact them later to learn their village's story, because it seems like they've kind of gotten forgotten over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. You would find there is this kind of gnarled old dwarven woman with this. It looks like it was the branch of a tree that was just sort of carved down over the years to be a walking stick. And she's like still using it as though she's walking, even though she can just float because ghost.
Listen, the spirits like to perform. Spirits like to do the same old, same old actions they used to do in life. It's habit.
Very much so, and she'll be pleased that you asked, and will absolutely give you that story. Most likely after the battle, when you have the time. If you'd like to know that story now, I can tell you, so that we don't forget. We'll just say it gets filled in afterwards.
I mean, if you want to fill at the time, we're kind of running short on game. I know
that is a fair point.
It'd be slow because we're defense planning.
No, that's a fair point. It's about 20 after 5. So.
We can save. Yeah, we can. Can we save it towards the end of session? Because that kind of feels kind of like, because considering stuff that might happen with me next session.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
So, the spirits agree to help. I will say that, like, most likely, most of them will be manning things like the ballistae or helping out with those, because that since the ballistae are brought back to a living state, those are something that they can kind of interface with.
Alyssa's also going. Yeah, Alyssa's going to turn to Agon and just, Agon, darling, I need you to work with the archers.
Agon will just look at you and like, oh sure, ask me to be the archer. I suppose I'm just a one-trick pony, and like very clearly just trying to lighten the mood a little bit because things have been really tense. And Agon just says, you don't have to worry about it. I'll make sure they're in a shape by the time the fight starts. Don't worry about it. We've got it handled.
I know, darling, but sometimes I really wish I was still able to get in contact with the old Gleam Warden party. At the very least, Julia would be able to shut you up.
Rude. And Agon's like presence just goes off to teach the spirits how to use the ballista and aim properly. Fan. So we'll say that happens. Before we get into Alyssa and Danica going through the dream realm, is there anything any of you would like to do? Anyone you would like to speak with?
How far away is Venat?
Venat is staying in the hospital, so not too far. You know, it's a short trip, and there's points where you and Adira can both take breaks, so you can absolutely go see Venat if you need to.
I would like to.
Venat is just taking a break themselves when you arrive, after looking after some of the sleepers.
And I suppose when I do go, I ask Adira if they would like to go.
I'll say Adira would like to, but in the midst of this, one of you kind of has to be constantly working on the domain. So this will be a moment where, you know, Adira trades off with you so that you can go have this break.
Okay, then I won't be long, but if you have to stay here and I take the time to materialize my sword and leave it with Adira.
When you materialize your blade, Adira kind of looks curiously at it and then looks at you and says, I see you have a quite varied set of skills. Curious.
Out of character note, I don't know if they actually have TV in this universe. Otherwise, I would say I watch a lot of TV.
No, they don't. This would be pre-TV.
They don't. This is still roughly like
Still medieval.
medieval. At least this era we're in. A different Aether campaign is set in 20s, 30s, so still pre-tube vision.
Yeah.
Then I would say, you know, as a child, I was very curious about many things.
Well, you and I will have quite a few stories to tell then.
None of them, and before I leave, I go, and absolutely none of them will be about the time that I took a vacation. And then I go see Venat.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, you'll find Venat is just taking a break after spending most of the day looking after these sleepers, and a few more people have joined. A few more townspeople have fallen asleep. There's maybe 2 more. And Venat is just resting and snacking on a little bit of food. I see you've arrived. Please.
Well,
And they seem a little worn out.
You look like you've had a very busy day.
Doctor's work is never done during a crisis.
Well, hopefully there will be less of one.
I do hope so as well. What can I do for you, man?
I suppose I came back here to catch up and make sure, 1, that you were okay, and 2, that you were kind of apprised of the many goings-on that are happening here.
I've heard that there's an evacuation and that the patients will be some of the last people evacuated. I feel old. Unfortunately, I've been around long enough that this isn't the first time I've been through something like this.
Well, hopefully at least the place that we're sending them will be interesting for you. So, who knows? Then again, it sounds like one day we're going to have to talk about the many things you have seen across the course of your lifetime.
Maybe one day. For the most part, it's the most unfortunate of cycles. And you can see that, like, there's kind of this air to Venat of like, not necessarily a doctor dealing with a crisis, but almost more like a soldier on the eve of a battle. That quietness and that stillness about them. And that level of focus as well. And you get the sense that that's probably why they're a bit tired, is because they've been so just intensely focused on all of this. Well, I'm awake.
So, what experience do you have with nightmares?
Some. It wasn't my particular area of expertise, but we did have mages who were studied in defending against dreams, specifically defending against nightmares. I remember it was always a process of trial and error, simply because no two processes were ever guaranteed to work against nightmares. It's like every time they came out just a little bit different. In terms of dealing with nightmares myself, well, bit of a drink and a deeper sleep never hurt.
Interesting. He wants to talk to Barry about that.
I've seen Barry around a bit. Do you have any idea why he would ask me? Never mind, it was an odd question. They asked me where the best place to find tree sap was.
I suppose he fancied himself getting prepared to be in a sticky situation.
He's dealing with his wood.
Hey, Joel.
And at that point, we'll be taking a commercial break, everyone. Thank you so much for coming by.
Well...
Actually, can we please take a break?
Yeah, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. We have a half hour left. We'll get through the escapade, through the Dream Realm, and then we will basically be cutting to the battle. So, we'll be right back just after a quick bathroom break, folks. And there we go. And we're back, everybody. It's a quick break. I feel like we broke it in minorly on the break.
Of course, we always do that to port ins.
So,
where'd my fan go?
I was just reminded of a thing I wanted to say. Rue, as you're constructing this eminent domain, there is something, it's almost a ghost of a memory, like you feel like a memory should be there, but it's just not coming to mind when it comes to the process of this and your sort of experience of the domain as you walk through and construct it. Almost like a sense of deja vu.
A sense of what?
Deja vu.
A sense of deja vu while I'm building?
Yes.
Adira, when you're building an imminent domain, right, per se, is it supposed to feel like, you know, you've been there before?
Adira kind of just scrunches their brow and just says, well, I would assume if you're constructing one for your own use, yes. Have you never constructed one before?
No, this will be my first one.
Interesting.
It feels like something is a bit off here, but I don't know what. Are we missing something?
No, not that I can see. Are you...
I can't quite put my finger on it. I feel like I've seen this before, but also like I haven't. There's something perhaps missing, but I wouldn't know what it was if I were to find it.
Have you by chance ever had your memory altered? So I guess if I'm asking that question, you might not remember. A bit of a difficult scenario.
I would not necessarily be surprised. There is one thing I'm kind of aware of, but also not at the same time. You know, that thing about us bonding, at some point, I should tell you about the first time this happened.
Indeed.
Well, that being me being here and then everywhere else I've been.
We'll have to have that conversation. And Adira kind of looks around at the space and says, you have managed to nearly effortlessly create a space that, upon exiting, people will forget about. That's why I asked if you've ever had your memory altered. If you've done this, if you've created this once before with a similar effect, would you even know you were under it?
I suppose that's true. I also believe that you can thank Nataris for that.
Indeed. And so we will cut back.
And if that's true, I suppose we can thank him for one more thing, possibly. I kind of smirk at this moment, thinking about the last time I said something like that. He ended up having to appear and going, "What did you do?"
And
are you baiting Nataris?
What? No.
I mean, every time Rue brings up a vacation, it's bait. With that said, we'll cut back to Danica and Alyssa.
Before we go, I would like to, one, see Marcel, and as I'm walking up to him, kind of be like, I wish Leona was here, but, well, I need to head out, but while I'm gone, watch Mama for me, or just watch her, please.
Oh, don't worry. I'll keep an eye on her. She's, pushing herself. You know how she gets.
Yeah. And, I'll say bye to him, and then I'll find Halcyon real quick.
Okay.
Grab his hand and kiss his knuckles and just say, thank you.
You actually see Halcyon flush a little bit and just go, you're welcome. That's a new feeling. Sorry. Good luck.
Hopefully this won't take long and we'll be back soon.
Hopefully. Now, I have to go teach a bunch of ghosts how to fire in unison. And you get like this look across his face of like, dear God, what has my life become?
Yeah, like
Alyssa's just like, I wish Alyssa was there, because she just would have been like, no, don't worry, Agon's already got that handled, as like 5 arrows whiz past her.
And there's going to be a while where Agon and Halcyon just sort of hang out and discuss tactics and like crosstalk, and then also, you know, just talk about their respective partners for a little bit because they have that at chance.
Barry's there with like a straw in his beard, and he's going, just listening.
And we're not going to have that conversation happen on screen. Y'all don't get to know.
But I want to know.
Too bad.
Okay.
Terrible DM. Awful. Doesn't give the players what they want. 10 out of 10. Would never recommend this turn of play again.
Let's get back to the important bits, shall we? So, moving through the dream realm is affected by your perception of it. So, to y'all, it is very much like just walking through the woods. Now, I will say, both Danica and Alyssa, you would both have some ability to track down dreamers in this area. Because 1, you know who you're looking for, you know who the victims are. And 2, both of you by some means either have ties to the dream realm in Danica's case, or in Alyssa's case, you have a giant weapon that's kind of a dowsing rod for dream energy right now. So with a little bit of willpower and a little bit of intent and threading your magic into the weapon, you can kind of follow Dreamer's epitaph to the people you're looking for. Now, I will say, in your instances, actually no, I should ask this question. What are you looking for? What are you intending to do as you find these people?
I think Alyssa's going to let Danica handle their siblings.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what Alyssa's going to be looking for mostly is the dreamer. And if there's any case of a nightmare being attached or in process of attaching, you know, removal. Very swift removal. And perhaps the attempt to patch a spirit later if need be.
Yep, you got it. I will say, so as you go through this dream realm, there's 2 events that are going to happen. The first of which is you don't encounter any dreamers that have nightmares attached to them. You do find a strayed nightmare, like you kind of just run across them, and Alyssa dispatches that with a quickness. Alyssa, what weapon do you use? Do you use your standard bow or do you use epitaph? Your choice.
I'm using. I would have left. Actually, I would have left the physical like standard bow behind for Agon's use.
Okay, makes sense.
So she would be using epitaph here.
Okay, Your first experience using this as a weapon, it feels odd how natural it is to you. Because normally it looks like a straight staff on either end. But the minute you need it to be a bow, it curves on its own. And you watch, you know there's no bowstring, you have to thread magic into it effectively. And as you do, your shadow magic takes the place of the bowstring in kind of this dark, inky cord. And drawing it is almost, there's no effort of muscle. You know, there's no tension for you to pull. And it feels very strange because to you, you're used to hauling back the string of this massive monster hunting bow. For this, you pull back to full tension as simply as if you're moving a pen across paper in terms of amount of effort. And an arrow coalesces on the string made of this inky dark shadow magic that you're so used to using. And when it fires, the Nightmare Beast is kind of a similar consistency. They are, you know, this Nightmare Beast, when they are unattached to another creature, they look like if you popped somebody's shadow off a wall and sent it into a fight. You know, you're fighting Peter Pan's shadow, basically. And when your arrow hits it, it doesn't so much embed as it does merge with the nightmare, and then it's like they have another tendril just pop out of them involuntarily with the momentum and stick them in place. And it's this odd effect where, like, all of a sudden it's like the nightmare's own form is no longer obeying it and it just dissolves. So now you have this sense of a little bit of what Dreamer's Epitaph can do in regards to, and I'll write out a full mechanic for this later, but your bow has an ability where you can spend potential to attack a target and pin them in place. Your sort of shadow arrows will have a consistency, something like Tar or the Sap Shooters. So, there you go. Mm-hmm. Second thing that happens as we approach the end of this episode. Danica, you find your siblings and they're all okay. They're fine. The last dreamer you all find presents an area or an image that's a bit familiar to you, as you both, well, at least familiar to Danica, as you walk into a clearing and see something similar to your home forge that you often dream about. And at a distance, you hear the tinking of a hammer against steel. And there's smoke coming out of the smokestack. And as you approach, Danica, you hear the slight exertions of your father from behind a closed door. Apparently working in his dreams. You forgot he was asleep, didn't you?
Oh my god!
So, do me a favor. And as you open this door, describe to me what Danica's father looks like.
Danica's father is a mountain of a man at like 6'8", very broad.
Is he Kiyama from Dragon Ball?
No. What? Actually, like, similar in build. Actually not too far. Not too far. But
I was thinking of more of the butcher from Full Metal Alchemist.
Sig.
Actually,
yeah. No.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, but very broad. He's working.
Sig, but taller.
Taller, much taller. He probably has this really like graying, it's super salt and pepper pulled back, kind of curly hair. This rough beard. Lots of scars on his hands. And yeah, he'd be wearing a button up with the sleeves rolled up.
Mm-hmm.
And have his apron on, and all his tools methodically placed next to him.
Yeah. And you see he just goes, and there's the slam of a hammer against steel. And then he kind of notices new light enter the space as the door is opened. And he just turns and he says, "Oh, it was good to see you, Danny.
Hi, Papa.
Come on in. I'm just working."
You're working.
A bit, yes.
Do you remember waking up? That's an odd question, but it's a genuine question. Do you remember waking up?
There's a moment where he's about to, like, maybe get a little snarky with you. And, like, he's swinging the hammer, and then he stops. And then he sets the hammer down. Danny, what's this about?
You're not awake right now, Dad. We gotta get you home. This is, we're in the dream world right now.
And he takes up his hammer again. And he just slams it down on the back of his left hand. That's covering the blade. Does not react to it at all.
Yeah, that trick's not gonna work. And Alyssa's probably already, like, slid in, kind of very silent and wraith-like behind Danica. And I just want to frame this by this way. Danica's father is seeing the full priest get up.
Oh, yeah.
That...
He does stare
like,
for a moment at that. Like, it's a visage to behold.
You're not dead. She's not here. You're not dead. You're fine. We're fine.
Good.
You're not. Mama might be dead soon, though. If
Excuse me. What?
Don't get back soon.
Yeah, your wife's gonna work herself into death, and I'd rather not be the one to try and escort her to Threnody or Cyclorine. So please, come back with us. You'll be safe here, or safer there. Nightmares are about to attack your town.
What she said.
Joy. All right. What do I need to do to try and wake up? Is there a process
Follow
for
us.
this?
No. You follow us.
It's a walk in the woods. It's a walk in the woods back to town.
Nins? Did you have a question? You were waiting for a moment.
No. I'm just gonna watch, see what happens.
Okay. You all approach the
Please.
edge of the clearing.
Yep.
You two step beyond its edge. Your father tries and stops.
What about Santiago and Bianca?
Oh, would you have tried to
I
wake
feel
them
like
up?
they already filled.
Yeah.
They would have hit the same barrier.
So everybody but Danica's family was able to wake up and follow us out.
Sorry, I meant to clarify. None of them were. You found them and you made sure they were okay. But I did not know that you were attempting to wake them. None of them were able to.
This is where I'd like to chime in.
Yes, Nins.
Yes, Dan. Yeah, Barry.
Mother, could you perhaps help me contact my friends in the dream realm?
Indeed.
They have these flowers.
What do you need? And there's a moment where, when you mention the flowers, Silk Mother just says, "I will attempt to bridge your connection."
Thank you.
And so this bridge will be built.
Have you found them?
They're not waking up.
No, I didn't expect that they would. Perhaps it has something to do with the fact that they could be in an eminent domain.
And what can be strong enough to create their own eminent domains for the express purpose of keeping dreamers penned in?
The kind of people who can build an eminent domain to save a town.
But we haven't brought their bodies in, Rue. Or Barry. Unless you've already decided to move the bodies without telling us before Danica and I waltzed into the dream
No,
home.
not at all.
No,
But they are.
someone else has created.
Someone else has brought them here. Now, I would like to try something. It will be a test, and I will need a volunteer from the Dreamers.
I mean, at this point in time, you're still standing like on either side of this barrier with your dad. You two can step in and out of his dream freely. He is unable to.
Would your father be willing, or one of your siblings?
Santiago, you do it.
Your dad just gives you like an eyebrow at like the full first name.
Alyssa just like holds up her hand. Barry is trustworthy. Barry's science actually, in the end, gets us very good results. Santiago is in good hands.
Yeah, you just see this
Immediately,
tall motherfucker.
Yeah, Alyssa just like looks at the sort of like a very tall cryptid and just, yeah, you're gonna do just fine. Barry, proceed.
Santiago looks
and then-
bewildered but agrees.
I contact the hospital. Or actually no, I'll just turn up there. I will walk over to Danica's mother and I said, Danica said that was okay. Danica said that it was okay if I
Yes.
applied some medication to this person here.
As long as you can guarantee it
they're
won't
your
put them
child.
into a worse... No, that is my husband, but as long as it won't put them into a worse state.
Oh, that's your husband?
No, Santiago's
one
the
named Santiago.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. I confused the two in my head. Proceed.
And I just give them the what do you call it? The deep sleep concoction.
That you worked on? Your deeper
Yeah.
sleeper?
You give them the concoction. It takes a moment. And then their image fades from inside the barrier.
What happened?
It worked. I don't know.
Great.
It worked.
Ship this person immediately into the, evacuate them immediately. For everyone else,
Danica's mother goes into a flurry of just making sure that, like, they are ready to go. Does not question it and just goes for it.
apply the medicine and then evacuate them immediately.
Okay.
Get them into the, get them to the Dreamers, and hopefully we have a chance.
Is at this point, as we reach the end of this episode, Barry, you notice Vinat
Yes.
isn't in the hospital.
Oh dear. Does have a flower though.
He does.
I feel like the moment like people started disappearing, like post Santiago, Alyssa would have just left with Danica, because we can't really do anything else there.
Mhm.
We made sure her family was
Ooh,
okay, and
right.
they are okay.
So there is one question on Barry's mind right now.
Ask the
How
question.
much trouble am I getting into?
Who
What
the
are you
fuck
doing?
cares?
I'm going to Vinat. I'm going to pop out of his lapel flower.
Barry,
Mm-hmm.
you pop
What
out of
did
a...
you do, Barry?
Remember when you bonked Zira in the head with a staff out of nowhere?
Mm-hmm.
Take that "what did you do, Barry" moment, multiply it by a factor of about 1,000.
Oh my god, Barry, what did you do?
This is the perfect way to end this episode. Oh my god.
Love this moment for me.
Barry,
Such a Barry moment.
you pop out of the flower a little disoriented and you hit something solid. You notice there is underbrush beneath your feet, and the sky overhead is the inverted forest. Upon orienting yourself properly, you notice the solid that you hit is a magical barrier, as you are currently within an inscribed magic circle on the ground. Across the
Oh,
distance,
that's fun.
you see 3 figures. 2 of whom you recognize, 1 of whom you do not. Standing in front of what appears to be a boulder, for lack of a better term, that is inscribed with old markings. You see Epoch, Halcyon's brother. And you see Venat, who looks over at you and just says, "Oh, I was worried you might do that. Stay put, Barry, while we finish our work." And the third figure you see is a creature standing about 8 feet tall with a black crystalline carapace, staying still. It has an almost armor-like spikes coming out of the shoulders and across the chest, looking almost knightly, or like a combination of a knight and a lizard. But the uppermost portion of the body, you see a humanoid face surrounded in almost a crown plate of crystal, with a helmet sweeping back of that same stone. Their right hand is a blackened claw. Their left hand holds a blade of the same material. They are standing within another circle. And flowing between that circle and the stone is what appears to be a river of magical energy. And from this distance, you do hear Venat say, "Oh, at least it appears Esri's part in this was effective." And then Venat turns to you, Barry, and says, "I'm sorry you had to find out this way, friend."
No, best way to find out.
I'm going to assume you don't say that in character.
Yes, absolutely. I say that in character. Best way to find out.
Oh my god.
Venat just gives a bit of a smirk and just says, "Well, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the show. Though I'm afraid..."
Hope you like music.
He just kind of tilts his head and narrows his eyes, and Venat says, "I'm sorry your friends had to be caught up in all this." And Halcyon just turns to him and just says, "Oh, enough of your..."
Epoch.
Epoch, sorry.
Epoch.
You are correct. Sorry,
I
I
was not having that confusion.
No. It is Epoch. Epoch turns to Venat and just says, "Oh, enough of your little grandstanding. We've work to do. Come on." And you see, as they pull what can only be described as the compressed spirit of a nightmare giant out of the stone
No.
and implanted into whatever beast they're working on. Barry, it's in that moment you vaguely recognize the face of the person in this crystal as the one who is described by Rue as working in that cave, constructing that Erdrex. And you realize that this must be Venat's former student, Jasper. And that's where we're going to end the episode.
What the fuck?
There's a possible way to find out.
It
Holy
was...
shit! I
Nins,
hate all of this.
You played right into this so well, Nins.
This is beautiful.
I had
But
to.
holy crap!
I
What a
had
way
to. You said the
start
one
and
person
end.
we brought here is not here.
So, with that, before we have a whole off-screen conversation about what this all means, because I know that's about to happen,
Yeah. Pay up.
let's... I'm not saying this on screen. People can wait to find out.
No, I'm that's you know what I mean. I'm
So-
gonna turn off Sirenscape. Holy shit! I need to decompress fast.
So, before I do the outro, let's hear where people can find you, who you are, and do all the things. Sin, Rainy, Road, Nins, go for it.
You can find me in the Dream Realm, doing things and maybe broadcasting a stream here or there on Mondays and Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can also find me on Twitter, talking about world building and other gaming nonsense. Again, my name is Sinziak, whose pronouns are he, they, and I also play Rue in this campaign, who is also he, they, dreamer.
Hi. Betrayal bites once again. My name's Rainy. You can find me on twitch.tv/RainyKeys. What?
I said sorry.
What was that?
Sorry.
Betrayal bites once again. Always. It's fine. Let me finish my outro. At RainyKeys on Twitter, I played Alyssa Vesper, the poor ace of spades, as it were, tonight. We'll have to see how this actually plays out for her tomorrow, should she ever learn of this news. And her pronouns and my pronouns are both she and they. So, till next time, folks.
And I'm Ro. Hi, my pronouns are he, they, and I play Danica, whose pronouns are she, they. Y'all can find my tabletop content mostly me on Twitter at Monroe98, and y'all can find me this upcoming Tuesday and Thursdays in August at TRPG's Twitch channel. That's TEA TRPG. And also, I forgot to mention this at the beginning. My games are still on sale until the end of July at monroe.itch.
Go buy Rose Games. They're
Buy
amazing.
Rose Games and hire him. For the love of God, hire him. Thank you.
Hi, it's me, Nenbu. My pronouns are he, him. You can find me at GhostlyBims on Twitter. You can also find me here playing Barry and misgendering them. Unfortunately, I will get better at that. Well, yeah, you can just find me here, you know, torturing my own characters.
And with that, I
That's way to find
have
out.
been Crow, your dastardly narrator for the evening. This is probably one of the best plot twists I've ever pulled off in a game, and I'm very happy about it. So, thank you so much for joining us, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Before anyone says anything, yes, I know I forgot to upload the previous episode to YouTube, so I'll be doing a double upload this week. Both 11 and 12 will go up, most likely for Wednesday, hopefully. And so you can keep an eye for that. You can find the system we've used today on, well, basically through any of my social links. Find me on Twitter at EldritchCrow, and all the things. So, we'll be back. We may have some scheduling issues in August, so when the climactic episode happens, we'll find out. But keep an eye on socials, and I'll let everybody know. So, thanks again, everyone, and we will see you next time. Bye.